G'day, thanks for joining us on episode 14 of the Outer Side podcast. In this episode, I'm joined by Andrew Joulianou, aka The Bald Chef, and we talk about some really interesting stuff in relation to hunting and where food comes from, and the food that we feed our families. Now, I understand that hunting's not for everybody, but even if you're not into it yourself, or you find the topic a little bit controversial, I do encourage you to watch the episode and take on board some of what Andrew has to say. We're not saying that everybody has to go out there and kill their own food, but it's interesting to hear the perspective of someone who does that. So encourage you to watch the episode, let me know what you think. Feel free to leave a comment, whether you agree or disagree with anything that either of us say in this episode. More than willing to have a conversation about it, something that I'm truly passionate about, and I think there should be more conversation around the provenance of food in this day and age. With that said, I hope you enjoy the episode. And one last thing, when we shot this a couple of weeks ago down in Bateman's Bay, it was extremely windy. So there is a bit of wind noise on the mics. I've tried to fix it as much as I can, but not an audio expert. So bear with us. Hopefully the wind noise isn't too bad. And hope you enjoy. Cheers. G'day and welcome to the Outer Side. I'm Tony, and in this episode, I'm joined by Andrew Joulianou. Andrew is a hunter, a fisherman, and a big advocate for sustainable living. Andrew, welcome to the show, mate.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks for having me.
So, Andrew, I've been following you for a couple of years now on Instagram. I don't actually know how I first came across you, but might have been through a bit of hunting or something like that. But I've been consistently impressed with the way that you live, particularly with your attitude towards food.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that, yeah.
And when I first started this podcast, you were one of the first people I put on the list, man. I really wanted to talk to you and hear a bit of your story about how you've ended up where you are. So, did you grow up hunting and fishing? Was it something that you did as a kid?
It was, yeah. It was. It started really young, like, because I didn't really go to daycare that much, and I had my grandparents looking after me, and they lived 15 minutes from where I lived, and they had 5 acres there, so they had like farm animals, chickens, rabbits, ducks, all different animals, and that's where I started. My grandfather would go, it was normal for my grandfather to go kill a rabbit and have it for dinner that night, or kill a rooster or a chicken, or we'd get a pig a year and make sausages and stuff like that. So that's where it started. And then my dad and my grandfather, but my dad was more like loved hunting. So we were going, I think my first hunting trip was like 5. I didn't really hunt, I was just like sort of...
But you were there?
I was there, but that was shooting mainly small game.
Okay.
So like rabbits, hares, ducks, stuff like that. It wasn't... sometimes I'd get goats, but it was very rare. It was mainly all small game, and this was happening probably for like 10 years. So I didn't go to every hunting trip with the boys, but like I was going from around that age.
So you were exposed to it at a really young age.
My dad would, like, I'd be waiting my dad to come home to like I'd be like, tell my mum to call dad, what did he catch, what did he get? And he'd come home esky with like rabbits and hares, and it's very me like small, like, and my dad's holding like a hare, or
that's the best.
So I was exposed to like hunting and fishing super young,
But also, aside from the hunting and fishing, that you were also growing your own food at that point, right? So you mentioned roosters.
So my grandparents, because they're from not traditionally, like they were born in Cyprus.
Okay.
And my dad was as well, but my grandparents, they were like, so they came when they were in their 20s, and then they sort of made like a little mini sort of farm at Rossmore where they lived. So they had like all different veggies, tomatoes, cucumbers, and it was pretty
organic
cool.
Food, man.
Organic food, like it was like my grandma would be like, what are we gonna have for lunch? And she'd go pick like, like a bunch of greens, like, and then make a salad, and then maybe have like, I don't know, like rabbit or fried rabbit or...
Amazing.
Yeah, it was cool,
And that's something that obviously is ingrained in you, right? That's a big part of, what you promote now is about that sustainable food and growing your own food, right?
Yeah. I think it has had a massive influence. I say it to my partner Ivy sometimes, like I feel like those years, like from like, 0 to 7, 8, I reckon they shape a lot of your life.
They're the formative years, right?
Yeah. So a lot of the things that I'm enjoying now, like planting trees and in the garden, or, butchering animals, cooking stuff, and that, it's all, I think, from those Those years,
It's absolutely right, man. And just before we started filming, we were talking about that, right? Like, we've both got young daughters, and it's like the exposure at a young age.
Yeah, you want to make it normal.
Yeah, and you want, I think there's, especially for me, you know, I've only been a father for just under 4 months, right? So it's a steep learning curve for me. But they're sponges, man. They absorb so much, and even when you don't think that they're consciously absorbing things from you, they're taking everything, right? That's shaping who they're going to be.
Yeah. Because death became normal.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like, to be honest with you, there was a time where it was probably in my 20s where I realized that I became desensitized, and then I wanted to change that because I was desensitized to death, and I think, you know, at the end of the day, an animal is dying, you know.
Yes.
The animal needs to get that respect it deserves. So then that's when I started to think, you know, like I want to honor the animal more, and I also want to live off this food.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It was like, there was a moment where I said I want to be able to kill my own roosters, because killing a rooster is different to shooting an animal in a paddock. Shooting an animal from a distance is also confronting, but not as confronting.
A little bit disconnected.
It's at a distance, you know. So it's good to expose your children to it and make and be around this type of life and killing and eating your own food, but you want to also make sure they respect the process.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
When I had Khadijah on the show recently, we were talking about this and how disconnected people have become from food. Like, people go to the supermarket and they buy lamb. It's
in a styrofoam packet wrapped in plastic.
Yeah.
And it just looks like a cutlet, and everyone's like, I love this cutlet.
There's no blood, there's no guts, there's no processing, and you know, it's not for everyone. It is, as you said, can be quite confronting, but I think the more that we become disconnected from food, the worse it is for us as a society, right?
Yeah,
because you need to understand where your food comes from, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And one other thing that I've noticed about you, particularly with a lot of your game animals, is you're a big advocate for utilising the animal.
Yeah.
So you're not just taking back straps. If you shoot a deer, you take the whole carcass.
But look, it's also circumstantial, you know.
Course.
Like I hunt in a lot of private properties.
Yep.
So I'm lucky in that sense. So I don't have to. I'm not like walking like big massive pack outs. Like the guys in Victoria, they're hunting sambar, like, you know, getting a whole sambar out.
Big animals.
Big animals. Yeah, they bring back 2 legs, shoulders, and back straps, like.
And even that's still.
And even that's a lot. That's a lot.
Right?
If you got a mate giving you a hand, you can do it, you know. But that also was a big thing when I was young. Now that I think about it, my grandpa, even we used to shoot rabbits and all this stuff. It wasn't for trophy. You don't shoot a rabbit for a trophy.
Yes.
You know. So there was like my daddy and the grandpa. They used to like they used to shoot the rabbit and be like within an hour we'd be sitting under a tree, frying it up and eating it. So I've never seen my family shoot something and leave it there. Yeah. So that was like, because in a lot of Australian hunting culture, a lot of people do shoot animals and leave them there.
Yep.
And I know farmers do it for their stock and for money purposes and stuff like that, which is situational, you know. But that was another thing. Yeah, I've never, like, we use nose to tail.
Yes.
Yeah. So like I'll look at the deer and I'll see, like, you know, the neck, and then I'm like that's 2 dinners. Yeah. You know, and then the shoulders, you know, they can do that. And that's another 2 dinners. You know.
So that would affect the way that you take the animal as well, right? Where you're shooting them in terms of positioning.
Yeah, look, depends. Yeah, if it's for a meat animal, I would prefer to shoot in the neck.
Yep.
But then at the same time, you know, if the freezer is empty and I really want and fill the freezer and it's like last light, I like to do shoulder shots.
Yep.
On top of the shoulder, it knocks them over. So
yes.
I'm not looking for the deer or, you know, but behind the shoulder is ideal. Yeah, it's going through the ribs and not too much damage. Yeah.
Yep, into the engine room and lights out, right?
Lights out. Yeah, it still runs.
Yep.
Yeah, it's still sometimes they might go 10, maybe even 30, 40 meters. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Depends. Yeah.
And so, you know, obviously, as you said, growing up, you were exposed to hunting for rabbits and that sort of stuff, but your family was growing their own fruit and vegetables and meat as well.
Yeah, well, they did. So they used to have veggies. Fruit was like, we didn't live off the fruit that day, but there would be like plum trees, lemon trees, and kumquats, I think they were.
Kumquats.
No, yeah, they were kumquats. Yeah, there was another one. I think they're called kumquats.
Yeah, right.
I'm not sure. I can't remember
the name. Citrus.
Nah, they're like yellow, like this, with a few seeds in them.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So you used to eat there, and there's a few different fruits there, but like salads, all the greens, lettuce, rocket, parsley, that was always there. You know, when the summer came through, cucumbers, tomatoes, and then we'd do a pig every year.
Yep.
That was cool because we'd like, you know, my grandfather would get a pig off a pig farm, and then we'd raise it from food scraps.
Yep.
And then we'd kill it in winter, and then we'd make like this thing called lunza, which is like pork loin, cured pork loin in red wine, and we'd smoke it. And then we'd make like sausages and cutlets
and that would have been a family event, I imagine.
Family event day. That was like my favorite day. I love that day. Yeah. Like like when I was young, I wasn't there with the actual killing.
Yep.
But I would come, like I would be at the house, and then when the pig was dead, I would come. But then when I got to, I don't know, maybe like 10, 12, I was there for the whole thing. And
that's beautiful, hey? And
yeah.
it's something that I mean, my wife's Italian, so I know a lot of the Italians, they do like the salami making,
mad,
and it's the full family gets together, and you know, every member of the family has a job.
Yeah, I think it's nice to do that. Yeah.
And it's that connection to the food, right?
It is, and community. That was how we would have been doing it in the villages back in the day. Yeah. It would have been cool.
And I think there's so much in terms of food, right? Like, I mean, I know I love eating food, but I love knowing where it comes from. And, you know, even we're down near Bateman's Bay at the moment. And I know on the trip down yesterday, my wife and I were just talking about Clyde River oysters. You know,
nice. Did you end up getting any?
Yeah, we got a couple of dozen unshucked oysters last night, and we sat here and ate them. But, you know, like the provenance of food is so important.
No, it's true.
Where the food comes from, the different flavour profiles, and then it's ingrained in us as humans, right?
Especially when you're feeding this animal, right? You might have the animal for 6 or 7 months, and you're getting food scraps every day. You're watching it eat, watching it grow. Then you take its life.
Yeah.
You guarantee you will not waste that animal.
Yes.
Like say for example, me and you were sitting there like just living off packet foods or getting meat from the shop all the time and whatever. Like you have a bit of chicken breast or something left over, like I just throw it for the dog, or you just throw it in the bin because there was no connection to that.
That's right.
To that chicken. But if you're looking at the animal in the eyes and you're taking its life, cutting its throat, gutting it, skinning it, butchering it, I guarantee you will not. You'll be eating, and you'll be like, even if it looks like bad, you'll still eat it because you don't want to. You want to honor the animal. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man.
You want it because you've made that connection with it, and then and that's the same thing with hunting. Say for example, when you go for a hunt, we carry out an animal 3 kilometers, you're sweating, like your back sore. You get back to camp. You're not going to be like, oh, well, let's leave it under a tree, let it rot. Or you're going to sit there and be like, oh, what can we eat? Because you're hungry at that moment. Maybe eat the heart, liver. Yep. And you're like, yeah, maybe the liver's a bit strong, but you still eat it because you're so hungry, you know? Like, you feel like a bit of a primal aspect to it. And then because you've put in that work, that's when you're like, I feel like that work is like that's the respect you give to the animal, you know.
And then you get the reward
of eating,
of being able to eat that animal, and then obviously sustain your own life, feed your family.
It's a big thing to be able to do that. Yeah, like it's like, imagine like it's like you know, you just know your freezer has got meat for the next 2 months. It's like it feels like freedom a little bit.
Yes.
You know?
Oh man, there's nothing better than having game meat in the freezer, fresh fish, you know, and something that I've discovered, I mean, I've fished my whole life, but as I've got more involved in the food aspect of it and that sustainability piece, fresh fish is unbeatable. I very rarely buy fish anymore because it's not the same.
No, it's not.
And you know, you see even in the fish markets, right, people go, oh, it's the freshest fish. It's sitting there whole, the guts are still in it, hasn't been bled, it's still got the gills in it. You're like, was that caught 4 days ago?
Yeah, exactly.
Like
the eyes have got that little white dot in it.
They start to get a bit milky. And then you look at a fish that you catch yourself, you bleed it instantly, you gut it and gill it. You get it home and you look at that, man, it still looks like it's alive. And the flavour out of an animal that's been treated well is
completely different.
Different, right?
I reckon it's because you caught it as well.
I
reckon there's got to be an aspect for that,
there is.
There is, yeah. Because you can, so as a kid, because you're a keen cook, different, say for example, let's cook a snapper, I'll go get the snapper from the shop, as opposed to us catching a snapper. You're different. I think you even like feel different when you're like cleaning it.
You absolutely do.
You do, yeah.
And providing that food to other people and sharing that with them. I mean, I like nothing more than, I love fishing, but bringing home a fish, preparing it, cooking it for my wife, and then seeing her enjoy that.
It's a big thing. There was one time where I was home for 3 or 4 days by myself. I can't remember why. And I didn't feel this like I wanted to cook as much, you know. I was just like, I wasn't just like maybe meal prep and just eat like quick. I was like, I don't know if I would. I think the sharing part is like I reckon it's in our biology to be able to want to share the food that you've caught as a hunter or as a fisherman or whatever it is. Yeah.
I think so, man. And you touched on it earlier, you know, about the community and like you look at society throughout history, right? Food is the center that holds people together, right? Brings communities together, sharing food with each other, sitting down and having a meal together.
And with this like busy lifestyle that a lot of people are living at the moment, it's rare to sit around the table and eat a meal.
It is.
It shouldn't be.
But it's nice, isn't it?
It's nice, yeah.
I mean,
you talk about the day, you talk about the food, and if the food has a story as well, it's like, oh, you know, Ivy's been really good, and she often say a prayer, like to honour the food before we eat it. And I'm still working on it. Like I feel like a little bit shy to say it, sort of thing. But she'll say, you know, like thank you for the food, thank you for the fish, for its life that's like given us and sustaining me and our family and our friends. And then when you're eating it, you're not just like inhaling it and shoving and then just like sitting there like food coma. You're like sort of like feel like you're eating it with a bit more purpose, you know?
Yeah. And I think that is so important, man. Like there's health aspects to it, of course, but mentally, I think, you know, I keep saying it to people and you know, on the podcast and even just in my day-to-day conversations, like connection to food and connection to the animals that we're consuming is so important for me, and it's something that every day means more to me. And you said it, you know, it's the respect of the animal.
It's a respect. It's more time outside.
Yep.
You know, like because you can't get it, you can't catch food or fish inside. Like you know, you can't get a feed from.
Can't get it on the internet.
No, exactly. So and with all the different, I feel like pressures of society. Like I know I said it again before, but like we're just always like online on our phones. Everything's like digital. And it's like time to like disconnect, because when you're fishing for drama, you're fishing. You don't sit there and you can't go on your phone. You watch the waves. Exactly. You're watching the waves because there's a high chance that you like fishing for drama because of that present aspect to it. You know
absolutely, what I mean? Man. And I mean, I will say that this is not the recommended approach, but I do a lot of rock fishing by myself, which is like the number one thing they say don't do. But if you're smart about it, you read the water correctly, and you know you don't take unnecessary risks. It's okay. For me, being present in that environment, the sound of the waves on the rocks, watching
salt, every wave,
the salt in your sinuses, and then watching the water and reading the water, and you know, the thing I love about drummer fishing is I'm getting bait off the rocks. I'm not going and buying bait. I'm pulling bits of cabbage off the rocks, or I'm going and collecting kanji, and it's that whole start to finish process, right? So if I'm going to go for a drummer fish, I might
take your rod and that's it.
Well, if I want to fish a high tide. The fishing trip might start the day before because I've got to go low tide, go collect the kanji.
But you know what? You're probably tapping in now to your like ancestral hunter-gatherers.
It is, man.
It is fully. You're not going to get pillies from the what's it called, tackle shop. You're like oh, what's the tides? You're sitting there constantly reading tides. Oh yeah, low tide. Yeah, mate, go get kanji. The next day come back. And then you're like, I fish tomorrow, the high tide.
The long range swell forecast, you're looking at like the swell interval and you're working out which spots and the wind direction and all of that. And it's such a process.
It is a process, yeah.
It's so much easier to go to the fish shop and buy a fish, but it's far less rewarding.
It is far less rewarding, yeah. And yeah.
I think you're right, man. It's something that it's almost hard to explain.
It is hard to explain.
There's a feeling in you that the satisfaction that you get from doing that.
It's exciting. I think it as well when you're feeding your family and watching them eat and then them saying, oh my God, this tastes so good. What'd you put on it? Or, oh, it tastes so fresh. Or it's so juicy or tender. You're like, oh, it's mad. You know?
Yeah, the satisfaction
why you're
is
doing
different,
this,
right?
The satisfaction is different as opposed to like going fishing, coming home, eating it by yourself. It's all right, yeah, it tastes good, but you got no one to like share it with. You know? But I reckon that's because of how we evolved.
There's some instinct in there, right?
We were never living in homes separate from each other. It was like sort of like camps, like
villages, right?
You know, everyone would like come together, everyone sitting on the floor in a circle, sharing. There was no plates. I don't think there would have been even plates. It would have been the food or in the middle.
Eating with your hands.
And I think that's why I reckon that's why we're like, oh, like I like cooking over charcoal because it's probably a bit of primitive saying, oh, I like, you know, like checking the tides and fishing the day before and then organising all these things. I think it's tapping into something else, yeah.
And I think, you know, we talk about like the community and living off the land and natural organic food, and then you look at the way that a lot of people live now, where they're buying food from the supermarket. They might not even be going to the supermarket. They're getting it delivered to their house. They live in an apartment by themselves. They don't have a backyard. They're not exposed to outside. They're sitting there watching TV or on the internet, and it's like it's so far removed from where we've come from. And then I wonder if that has an impact on mental health.
Fully.
And disease 100%, and illness.
100% it would. 100% it would. Yeah, because you know what I reckon why? I reckon it's because I reckon we're just like a slave to dopamine.
Yeah.
A quick dopamine hit.
I know I am, mate.
Yeah. He's saying we all are, like, I'm guilty of it. You know,
Yeah.
like it's like quick every, like, you know, like people can want convenience. They like, we're like our taste buds. They're like, oh, we'll get like something easy and quick and greasy and tasty, mad. You know.
Yeah.
And
then you feel like shit afterwards.
And then what do you do when you feel like shit? You like, you know, if you smoke cigarettes, you will go and smoke a cigarette after you feed. Because I used to smoke before, and you know, everyone's like, you have a big feed, like, oh, I'll go have a cigarette, and then you have a cigarette, and you're like, oh, man, ends the food good, and then you're just like in this cycle of shit.
I smoked for 20 years, man, and it was exactly that.
Same
like,
thing,
you know, you're like halfway through a meal going, I can't wait to have a cigarette.
Yeah.
It's like, they're horrible.
They're horrible.
It ruins the flavour of all the
nicotine, we're
food.
slave to the drug, like to the drug of nicotine, you know?
And I think, you know, the instant gratification
That's
in
what
society,
it is. That's what it is.
That's what we're all chasing,
That's what
right?
it is.
And it's the
100%.
complete opposite to what we were just describing, where for me to catch a fish, it might be a 24-hour process. Or, you know, for a hunt. You were describing before.
But it feels better, but...
It's so much
better,
more.
but it's because we're lazy. Like it's like, I think because even when we were like hunter-gatherers, you know, like when we was to probably hunt an animal with a lot of fat, that's what we would eat first, or save it for winter and all this stuff. But now we can get fat anywhere, anytime. We can get salt as much as, because salt was a scarce thing as well before, but now it's not. So, like, for example, those two things. Now, if we like, we don't, like, our brains, I think, don't understand that.
Why do we have such a big obesity problem in Western society, right? Because of freely available salt and fat, and we eat too much of it. We get heart disease.
And they're cheaper as well. Like, all those shit products are cheaper. But also, I feel like it goes back to, like, the people making all these products. They're smart. They've got psychologists working. I reckon it's like a crime. To be honest with you, like. If you've got Doritos, and because I used to be like, I know it sounds a bit strange, but I used to be like a sucker for Doritos, right?
Oh, I'm the same, man.
You know,
they're like drugs.
They're like drugs, yeah. But then I remember having a Dorito packet, and then my daughter saw, like, I watched my daughter, and she was like looking at it, and she was like she was only like 2 or 3 months old because it was red.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these dogs are like.
It's psychology.
Psychology. They're trying to hook kids to buy, and it's all at eye level. So you're walking through Coles, Woolies, and that, trying to hook all the bad shits at eye level.
Yep. Look at the impulse purchases at the counter, right? It's
that should not
candy, chocolate, lollies. It's all the crap, right? It's not fresh, real food. It's not whole food.
Exactly. And imagine, how would you feel if you were to eat? What would happen if you were to eat Doritos every meal, every day? You'd get sick.
You'd die.
You would die.
Yeah.
But then, like, that's not spoken about.
No.
So it's like, oh yeah, that's junk food. Yeah, but like, you know what? If you want to help people's mental health, and if they do want to help society, they got to do something, like, I don't know, maybe subsidize health food, or I don't know, make it normal to be healthy or something.
Yeah, and I think that's why, you know, as I said, I was so fascinated by you when I came across you, because it's different, right? What you're doing is different, and that's in some ways a bit sad.
Yes, it shouldn't be different.
Because you're the odd one, or not the odd one out, but
you know what I mean?
Like,
no, you're right.
You're unique in your approach to food, whereas the vast majority of people are, you know, oh, we're having pizza night, you know, Wednesday's pizza night. It's like, man, eating pizza, don't get me wrong, I love pizza.
Same with me.
But it should be like...
It's a special thing.
It should be something special, right? And if you make your own pizza, it's
different.
It's far healthier than going and ordering it from Domino's, which is just full of preservatives and crap, right? And I think that's the problem. Like, man, I love Doritos too, but you look at the ingredients.
But it's because of that. How do you feel when you have it? You're like, oh my god, like that salt.
It's dopamine hit, right?
And I think there's probably like, who knows what's in the
MSG, brother.
MSG, you know. So we're like, they hook us, and then we're like, yeah, mate, the dopamine. You're like, oh, maybe when you have a beer, something crunchy and salty. Yeah, it's perfect, you know. But what you were saying before, I was even talking to Ivy about it, and sometimes I forget because I've normalised that. At the beginning, when I decided to eat game meat, and I was like, I'm missing out. What's going to happen when the boys come over? You know, I used to cook chicken wings. I used to love cooking. I used to have a chicken wing stand, cooking chicken wings on the spit.
Yeah, true.
I had like a food stand doing a whole over the charcoal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
I think I remember that actually. That was a few years ago, right?
Yeah, well, maybe 3 years ago or something, or 4 years ago. Yeah, through COVID sort of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then I remember, like, before that food stand started, I used to be like, oh, you know, the boys come over, I love to marinate all these different meats and put them on the barbecue, you know. But then I was like, oh my god, like, if I'm going to choose to go down this path of eating game meat, I'm going to be missing out. I'm like, oh, what am I going to cook for the boys or for my mates or whatever, you know, even for my family. But then now it's become completely normal, and I haven't gone to the butcher for, like, I reckon over 4 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, but I find it easy, and the thing is, it's not a hard thing in Australia if you understand how to do it.
And it's a habitual change, right?
It's
You've just got to
habitual
change the habit.
Yes.
And I noticed recently, might have been a couple of weeks ago, you put up a post on Instagram about roosters. You want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah. I'll talk about roosters.
I mean, you don't buy chicken wings,
No.
but you eat rooster.
But I eat rooster.
Yeah.
And I say, for example, I eat rooster. Say, for example, someone calls me up, oh, can you give me a hand killing a few ducks? I'll go and give them a hand and they'll give me a few ducks. So then I'll eat white meat there. But what I'll do, this time, you know, when I was saying before 20, I had that change where I wanted to become a bit more respectful with the animal.
Yes.
and be more conscious of what I was doing. It was when I was selling my roosters. So what was happening, I had a rooster, I had heaps of chickens and I used to love breeding chickens and that, and I was selling some roosters and people were coming to the front gate, oh, we don't like them, they're too small, they were $5, $10. And I'm like, I'm trying to make $10, what am I doing, you know? And then I was like, and then they're like, oh no, too small, and there's always something wrong. And I was like, why am I selling him? I'm going and buying chicken. I'm like to my parents, I'm like, we're going and buying chicken every week to make chicken soup, because traditionally Greeks, we make like chicken soup, this thing called like avgolemoni, it's like a egg chicken soup, and
Beautiful.
For Easter, all this stuff. And I'm like, what? We got like a flock of chickens and we're buying chicken. I didn't get it.
Craziness.
Crazy, but I wasn't even aware of it, you know?
Yeah.
So then I'm like, because at this point I hadn't done many home kills.
Okay.
So then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start killing my own roosters. And then after, you know, a few times, and now I'm obviously sweet with it, whatever, but took like the first 5 roosters I killed, I was like, you know, and then I like packed them nicely, gave some to my grandma, gave some to my parents, took them, and I was like mad, you know?
It is quite confronting.
Yeah.
I remember being on my uncle's farm. He had a small farm at Torreira, so just outside of Nowra, and we used to go there every year over Christmas. And
that's mad, yeah.
I remember seeing roosters get killed for the first time, and it was pretty full on for a kid.
It is, yeah. There's ways to do it, by the way, it's not too confronting.
Yeah.
I don't know how your uncle would have did it. And
just cutting their heads off, man.
And letting him.
Yeah. And it was full on.
Yeah, I think that's too much, because it's flapping around.
I mean, this was the 80s though.
Yeah, they didn't care. No, same with my grandparents. They didn't. They would do the same thing. They did, because it was like so normal.
Yeah.
It was very, very normal.
Yes.
And you don't want to be like completely on the opposite spectrum where you don't care about death at all and you're killing animals, leaving them running around or whatever it is.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think ethically killing an animal is
very important. Very important. I agree. Yeah. Because there's even cutting an animal's throat. If you're cutting the animal's throat and breaking its neck at the same time, lights out.
Yeah.
You know, even his twitches. That's just nerves.
Yeah. And I think, you know, without getting too graphic, what a lot of people don't understand is the way that the meat in the supermarket is processed and killed, right? Like with cattle being bled while they're still alive, right?
Yeah. Well, look, I'm not sure exactly. I don't know much about what's happening in the abattoir, but I know as well. Even another big thing is transport.
Yeah.
Because animals like out in this nice open paddock, it's getting put on a truck, and then in that, on the way, that's an unfamiliar environment. They're getting cortisol. There's no water in there.
Yep.
It might be 2 hours. It might be 10 hours. I don't know how long the limit is, but they're like not in a safe environment.
It's a long time.
And then they might sit in a pen at the abattoir for a long while, maybe could be a week or something, you know.
Yeah.
So then it's that cortisol build up in the animal, like it's stressed, as opposed to like, say for example, I was to do a home kill on these cows. There was some cows there, whatever. You know, you shoot it where it's living.
Yep.
You know.
It wouldn't see it coming, right?
Nah. And it sounds a bit like, you know, a bit full on, but you know, it's not. It's unexpected. Same thing with, you know, with when you're hunting.
Yeah.
Similar thing. Yeah.
This is the thing that I really want to talk about, right? So there's a reason that I've got people like you and Cads on this show, because I want to talk about this stuff. Is it full on though to take an animal's life where it stands, as opposed to trucking it somewhere, putting it in an abattoir? They can hear not their friends and family, but you know what I mean. They can hear other animals dying. Not everyone has to eat game meat, but you have to have an understanding of it, right?
No, yeah, no, you're right. You know, everyone, like what you said is true, because I said before it's full on, and going back to that, what happened when I was when I was 20, I remember thinking, if I want to eat meat, I should be able to take its life. And I'm not saying this is for everyone. Like, for everyone should be able to take its life, whatever it is. But because growing up hunting, and they may not be able to kill the rooster to eat it, I feel like a little bit like. I felt like a bit coward-like.
Yes.
But, so then that's why I wanted to fight that obstacle to think. But then like, even just as a whole, if we just understand that the meat at the supermarket, like what's happening, and then we understand that, you know, not everyone has to eat game meat, but then say for example, like just being open to it.
Yes.
Just being open to it, and just saying like, you know, even when you see, like I know, woolies, coals, whatever. Don't really, not really fond of them.
No.
But they sell kangaroo, right?
Yeah.
Kangaroo is a really ethical meat to eat.
Yes.
The guys shooting kangaroos are contract shooters,
Yep.
night shooting,
Yep.
or headshots.
Yep. They have to, right?
They have to.
They have to
only headshots.
And they're shooting them under
And
light.
they're shooting under light. Now, if someone was going to take me out, that's how I would want to go as well. You know, so that's like quick. So there's other alternatives. You know, there is other alternatives, and there's like grass fed. I feel like there's different levels.
Yes.
You can get the grain fed, no good. Chicken is not good.
Bad. Yeah.
Bad. Turkey, a lot of poultry is no good unless they're grass fed, pasteurized, but it's
Rare in this
very
country.
rare. Like there is a few guys there's a Tathra place.
Oh, yeah.
He does it. Yeah. But it's rare.
And the skins are different colour.
Skins are different colour.
Yellow. The
Everything's
meat's different.
Yeah, because they're on pasture. They do still feed them, but like they're out in the open. They've got dogs looking after them and that. But like it's just like I feel like there's this different levels of ethics, different levels. Yeah, throughout the different animals.
Yes.
But I think it's good to like, as hunters and fishermen and home like farmers, like what's it called when you do your own animals at home? I think that should be a normal thing.
Yes.
Especially in Australia.
You said it, man. Before we started filming, like we have so much game available in this country, right?
There's no season. There's no season.
No.
I'm speaking for New South Wales, but I'm Victoria, so there's no season on invasive species.
No.
Like you can shoot them day, night.
Yep.
So doesn't matter even if you don't like hunting that much or whatever. I mean, if you can't put in the time to walk in and check animals out, even if you've got access to private properties and you can hunt there, just go and spotlight.
Yes.
What's the difference? It's like going to the butcher. Same thing. You shoot 2 deer in the head.
Yep.
Lights out, gut them, hang them in a kurum or whatever you want to do with them. Still fill in the freezer, even if you just burn them out and mince them.
Yeah, and I find that quite strange. We were talking about restricted game hunting in state forests in New South Wales, and one of the rules with restricted game hunting is you can't shoot under light. And I've not been able to understand or get a clear answer from anyone as to why that is. Do you know?
Could be like maybe they don't want like everyone driving around shooting all night.
Yes,
I feel like it might ruin the safety, and as well, because at the end of the day, people going hunting our license. It's a challenge as it is.
Yeah.
And you don't want to like add more pressure to the game animal, to the animal, to the animals that they're hunting, because then they're going to book the forest out by the time they go there. And then they're going to go there and be like, these guys spotlighting all night, then you've got no chance in the morning. I think it's more like that as well.
It's so bizarre, right? Like, we were talking about this earlier, and it's a pity that I didn't have the camera on. That's my fault, because the conversation was really interesting to me. At the moment, we're in a situation in New South Wales where national parks are paying private contractors to shoot deer from helicopters and let them rot on the ground. But then in the R licence community in state forests, there's forests that are under so much hunting pressure, and we're trying to protect the game, and it's a really backwards situation, right?
Yeah, there'll be a state forest here and a national park here, and then there's different rules for each one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I understand, they want to preserve the environment in the national park, because they would say like, what about like the walking in the forest?
Yes.
That impacts and tracks with the cars and stuff like that. But then you're shooting invasive species from a helicopter. And then you're feeding invasive species.
I was going to say,
feeding foxes.
Foxes, dogs, and pigs,
dogs,
right?
And cats, feral cats.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. And then, but then also wild game meat is expensive.
Yes.
Look, I'm not saying everyone has to make money. It is a very good product to sell. But then, like, it shouldn't be. If you're treating it like it's like rubbish, but then like when it's not. Like, that's not fair, that's not nice,
I don't understand, and I think that's, for people like us that are in the hunting community and do eat game meat, it's really hard to
It's hard to process, right? Yeah, 100%.
And the best protein.
Best.
Like, organic, lean, high in protein, being left to rot in a forest, but then we're not allowed to go in and ethically kill and harvest those animals. It's really hard to understand.
And then you could feed that, like, the one deer might be able to feed you, I don't know, for a month.
Yeah.
But then instead of just rotting.
And you got people in poverty that can't afford to feed their families, and we're wasting this resource.
And I think they also do that even in Kosciuszko, the sambar there. One sambar is like 250 kilos.
Yeah. It's a lot of meat.
That's a lot of meat. a lot. To left to right, that's not fair. Let's just organise some sort of put hikers on rotation so that people can come in, camp, hike, whatever, and then the week after hunters, and have like a ballot that goes in. People would love to go
a ballot system, put tags on it like they do in America,
and then they use that money to go into conservation or something.
Yeah,
it's not going to go to waste.
And I think that's the hard bit to understand, right? Because I mean, I don't know what it costs to run a helicopter all day, but I'm guessing it's a lot of money.
It's expensive, yeah, bloody oath.
And then you're paying a contract shooter to go and just basically cull all these animals.
And where are they shooting them? I've shot animals with buckshot in them and pellets in the back, in their leg. They're still alive.
Shooting a running animal from a helicopter. I don't care how good you are at shooting, man. You're not going to get headshots every time, right?
Exactly. I've shot before some goats, and then I remember skinning them, and like you couldn't tell they weren't limping, but they would have. But there was like around the bullet, there would have been like the bullet was like wedged in.
Yeah.
And it was like starting to, it was infected.
Yeah, of course.
So that would die from that.
Yeah.
I mean,
a slow and painful death.
Slow and painful death, you know. So it's not. I wonder who. I don't even know who's making these rules anyway. Yeah, I don't know exactly who it is.
The people making these decisions are the people that we were talking about that are completely disconnected from where their food comes from, right? Like I'm sure they're not all vegans that
I don't think so,
live on.
Yeah, but even vegan has an impact.
Yeah.
Even being vegan has an impact because you can't grow grain and even you can't grow anything in the scrub.
No.
So you're growing it.
You're clearing native bushland to make pasture, and then pesticides and how many bugs get killed and rodents and everything
rodents
else.
And quail.
Yeah.
I got mates that got farms in Lake Cargillic, and I'll message him. How'd you go? And then like with the when they harvest the wheat, and he'll be like, yeah, a lot of quail through the mincer. You know, it's like a mincer. You know, but then you think like, look, I eat bread. You know, so like I'm guilty of it as well. But like, unless you're like vegan, unless you're like plant-based, but with everything only from your land, you'll always have blood on your hands somewhere.
Absolutely.
You know, but it's just having the least footprint as you can. You know.
Yeah, and
can't
again,
be perfect, but
being conscious of
being
it.
conscious of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like, yeah, fair enough. I understand the invasive species they do put pressure on all the native species in Australia. I completely understand that. But if you have a country, I don't know how many, I should actually know how many hunters are in Australia.
I wouldn't have a clue,
a few
man.
million.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a lot of non-hunters that I've noticed as well that are super keen to eat game meat.
Yeah.
If the government as well is killing these animals that a lot of people would want to eat, then and that's just crazy.
It doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, no.
It really doesn't. And I mean, wild goat is one of the best things, in my opinion, to eat.
Tasty, eh?
Wild goat is brilliant.
Yeah,
and a lot of people go, goat, what do you mean?
Yeah, because they think of a stinky billy.
Yeah, but this is what we we're talking about before. Like, you shoot a ruddy buck, it's not going to be great. You shoot a big buck kangaroo.
But it still has a place.
It does.
It does. I've got different things I can do with them.
Yeah.
And you won't know. Like, I could feed it to you, like, you guaranteed you won't know.
So that's probably a good segue. Is that into the way that you process the animal? Like, I know you dry age.
I age my meat, yeah. I age everything. Like, that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Like, aging for sure helps. The tender, it gives a little bit different flavor, but not. I wouldn't say like a big difference in flavor.
Okay.
But it creates a more tender piece. You know? So like the back straps, all the muscle cuts are more tender.
Yep.
And it's also easier to work with when you're handling the meat.
Yep.
It's like it hardens, it goes into rigor mortis, and
yes,
you get a better yield out of the animal. But like, say for example, if I shoot billies, but I would never leave it. I'll cut, like take its head off, mount the head, but I'll bring the goat back, right? I'll skin it because the smell is on the outside.
Yeah.
Because they piss on themselves. That's
that's
what
right.
the smell is. Like it's the same with ruddy bark. It's like piss on their body, you know.
Yep.
But you skin it, and then you've got the animal there. And then, like, say for example, like I'll cut up the animal in half with a saw and whatever, and then I got all the pieces with the bone. I wouldn't sit there. I'm not going to sit there and make you a billy goat cutlet with nothing on it.
Yep.
You're going to taste it. Tastes like it will taste strong.
Yes.
But then, for example, like a curry, mad.
Beautiful.
You know, or like something like a tomato based, like a ragu or something. Mad.
Yeah. Okay. So it's about complementary ingredients.
You got to give it a little bit more love. You know, it's not a veal.
Mm.
You know, like it's not like a young goat.
Yes.
Like a baby goat, you could do anything with it, it'd be good.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It tastes a bit like got a bit of like probably lamb. You know.
Yeah. Okay.
But the good thing about goat is that how they how much weight they'll put on. Doesn't matter if it's a drought or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, very rare you'll see a skinny goat. You know.
Yeah.
Because they forage. I'll eat like a little bit of eucalyptus, a little bit of tree, like grass, and then you'll see them eating like the thistles.
Yep.
Top of thistles, random
Really?
shit like that, that are dried. They look they look like.
Well, goats are hardcore, right?
They're
They'll
hardcore.
They
They
can
love
eat pretty much anything. They can live in the toughest terrain.
Toughest thing, yeah. So and they do their own thing, and then you can just harvest them when you want to harvest them. You know what I mean?
They're an amazing animal, and I think in Australia particularly, there was a lack of understanding about how good goat was for a long time. But with an increase in Middle Eastern population and Indian population, because those two cultures, they eat a lot of goat, right?
It's like their their main thing.
Yeah, and you go out to Western New South Wales now, and you drive from like Cobar to Broken Hill, and there's goats everywhere, right?
And the farmers used to round them up. I think they still do.
They do, yeah.
They went through phases. I think they stopped for a little bit. The price went down.
Yeah, that's right.
But then you go to the butcher, it's still be $14, $15 a kilo.
And a lot of those sheep farmers out there transitioned into goats.
Yeah.
And they were going out and rounding up wild goats, penning them,
great.
and then selling them. And it's like, that's a good utilisation of a resource,
It is,
right?
yeah, it is good. 100% is good,
mate, if you haven't tried goat, you should.
Yeah,
if you like
tasty.
lamb. And, even in this country, we don't eat mutton, right, as a general rule.
Yeah.
But overseas, mutton is quite commonly eaten.
Well, Cyprus, where I'm from,
Yeah.
that's their favourite thing for the oven. I went there recently, and my auntie cooked it was goat, but like a 5-year-old billy goat.
Yeah.
In the wood fire oven, and they close it with clay. It's like cool way to cook it, and it was like primo.
Yeah.
It would be the same thing with mutton, but some cultures love mutton. They want it to be older. The older the animal, well, there's more meat.
Yeah.
I think we want. You know what it is as well. I feel like we like tender.
Yeah.
Everyone likes tender.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we get the young ones because they're tender. And yeah, fair enough, 100%, yeah, it's more tender. But if you're slow cooking something, nothing's tough.
It doesn't have the flavour, though.
Well, it doesn't have the flavour. No, there's no flavour.
Yeah.
Not no flavour, very
But it's
mild.
mild, yeah.
And I think that people love that mild flavour.
I'm a bit like that with beef as well, like people going about eye fillet, right? Eye fillet beef is like one of the most expensive cuts. I don't eat it. I think it's
Soft.
bland.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's tender, but it doesn't have the flavour. Like, I'd rather eat like an oyster blade or, even a bit of rump, because I think it's got more flavour.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's
But everything has its own flavour.
It does.
Like same with fish. Drummer tastes like something. Snapper, tailor, goat. And this word game as well is, I think, dumb. Like gamey. Like, it tastes like goat, or it tastes like rabbit. And that tastes like hare, and that tastes like kangaroo, and then it tastes like I've had some strong flavoured lamb and strong flavoured beef.
Yes.
But they'll never say, oh, it was like, but then like.
It's too beefy.
It's too beefy, no. They might say, oh, it was strong flavour, but they would never say, oh, I'm not eating beef again. But they'll say, oh, I'm not eating kangaroo again, because
And I think so much of it comes down to understanding, like as you said, how to handle the meat.
It is 100%.
Right?
It makes a difference. Yeah, marinating it the night before, for example. Don't just sit there and straight away put it in the pan, and then hopefully it tastes good.
Yeah, throw a piece of meat in a pan. Like, you could get a good steak and just, if you treat it poorly.
Yeah, if you overcook it, you'll
well.
be pulling it. It'll be like a rubber. You know? So yeah, it's like with venison, you don't overcook it. Like steaks, you never. Like because there's no fat. Like, it's
like kangaroo. Overcooked kangaroo is the worst.
It's exactly kangaroo, venison, very similar. The venison, sometimes in the right time of year, in March, they got fat, the fallow in the pre-rut. But generally, you got to treat it like kangaroo, for example. Don't overcook it. The shanks, slow cook them, marinate them the night before. Don't sit there, throw a shank on a barbecue or something. And then,
it's going to be crap.
It's going to be crap. But like goat, billy goats, same thing. Marinate the night before. Age them for 2-3 days if you can, even up to 8-9 days, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Age them, then marinate them night before, then slow cook them. Some people will even rinse it I'll sometimes wash them with water, and it's not really some people don't. It's pretty frowned upon to put water on meat before you cook it.
Yes.
But it's what I'll do, for example, put them in a bowl and squeeze lemon and tangerine and rub it in there. Maybe a bit of vinegar.
So it's a cure, basically, of sorts,
just for one day, and then with a bit of vinegar, and then mix it around. And the next day I'll rinse it off, and then I'll brown everything, and then put it in the slow cooker.
Yes, it is frowned upon to put water on meat, but I brine meat. It's no different,
No,
right?
it's so different. It's a similar thing.
It's a brine, right?
Yeah, similar thing. Because I know some Italians do that with their rabbit. So they'll put their rabbit in a bit of a bit of vinegar, bit of lemon. Or milk night before, and then it's same thing eating organs.
Yeah.
You gotta treat them with a little bit more love,
Yeah, that's an interesting one. my heritage is Scottish and English, right?
Yeah,
and
a lot of game, you guys really.
a lot of game
Yeah.
and a lot of offal. So my grandmother came here after the Second World War, and mate, she'd lived through the Depression, two
Yeah.
World Wars. They ate everything, right? They you talk about utilizing food. There was nothing that she didn't eat, right? And again, talking about that exposure that you have as a young child, all I remember is my nana cooking, and now I love cooking, and I don't think that's an accident.
No, I don't
it's
think
not
so
a coincidence,
either.
right?
I don't think so, yeah.
But I remember her cooking steak and kidney, livers, brains, lamb's hearts, all this sort of stuff. And for most people, you say that now, and people go,
But
"What?
you know why? But
eat hearts?"
you made a point there, right? Why? But why did your grandma? Because during that time,
They had no money.
it was scarce. Now
Yeah,
there's abundance.
it's too easy,
and
right?
we've spoiled. We're
Yeah.
like spoiled brats, you know.
Yes.
That's what it is with food. And then I think that's why we've lost. We're not embracing the whole animal or the offal, or
Yeah.
you know.
And it's a debate that I have with my wife quite often. I've got a mate who's a sheep farmer, and he'll send them off and process them, but we can buy like whole.
Oh
lamb
yeah,
from
nice.
him.
That's my idea.
And there's a checkbox, right? Do you want this or do you want that? How do you want it cut up? And then there's a checkbox, do you want the offal? And I say yes. And so, we've been out camping before, and I'm cooking like lamb kidneys on the fire.
Oh yeah, nice.
And
That's
my
nice.
wife's sitting there going, what is wrong with you?
Yeah,
Why are
yeah.
you eating that? I'm like, just try it.
Yeah.
She goes, nah. Like, she can't get over
Yeah.
the mental aspect of it. And again, she's got Italian background, and some of the stuff that she ate growing up would have been pretty full on in terms of offal. But I think it's the way you process it and the way you flavour it.
It is, 100%, yeah.
Like if you just cook a piece of liver in a pan by itself with no seasoning,
Full on.
it's a lot,
It's
right?
a lot.
It's a very strong flavour.
It's a very strong flavour.
But a bit of onion and some salt and pepper in there, and
Yeah,
some
maybe a
good
bit of
olive
red
oil.
wine or something.
Man.
Yeah, then you've got like something. You can put it with a bit of bread and lemon on top.
Absolutely.
You know? That's also part of honouring the animal as well.
Yes.
Why we're picking? We wouldn't have picked back in the day. Me and you went for a hunt, and we've got the village there waiting for food.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be like, oh, we'll leave the heart. Let's leave the heart, the liver, kidneys, because some people don't like it or we don't like it.
Well, you look at a lot of like African communities, right, who are still living in like tribal environments. The offal is the best bit,
Sacred.
right?
Well, it's a lot
that gets given to
high
the
nutrients.
Yeah, it gets given to the chief or to the elderly because
Because of
they've
B12, zinc.
yeah. It's
iron.
sometimes, or in a lot of cases, it's the most nutritious part of the animal, right?
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, it is.
And I think there's one thing that I can't get around, and that's brains. And I
Have you tried?
Yeah, but I haven't tried it as an adult.
Oh no, you'd love it.
Really?
Yeah, because we've been doing them on the courses,
Yeah, okay.
and it's good.
Maybe it's the
'Cause
way
you
it
know
was
what,
cooked.
Maybe the flavour profile of brain very mild,
It's creamy, right?
creamy.
Yeah.
But it's got that soft
Yeah.
brain as you would think brain is. But if you we crumb it and fry it, so it's crunchy.
So that's venet or deer brain?
Deer brain, any brain would be the same.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
not too bad.
growing up, my grandmother used to do lamb's brains in white sauce with parsley, and I remember
Wow.
eating that as a kid, and I couldn't get around
Really?
it. But now,
Was it mushed? Was it mushed?
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind making that.
yeah, it was like
She would mush the
it
brain.
was just like a mushy paste, right? And I
Okay.
think
That's probably why. but
maybe now I would like it, but as a kid, that was too much for me to handle,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But we used to eat stuffed lamb's hearts.
Oh, yeah?
And they were beautiful, man.
Oh, nice. That's
Beautiful.
pretty cool. Eh? What you stuff them with?
Oh, like just a bread stuffing, like you would with a
Nice.
chicken.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, yeah, that's
I
nice.
remember eating that sort of stuff, and there was a point, I think, in my teens where I was like, I'm not eating that stuff. It's weird. Oh, we're not poor. We don't have to eat that.
Because it was linked. It was linked
To poverty.
to poverty. Even eating rabbit.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well, that's right.
Yeah, eating rabbit was linked to poverty, and people don't want to look poor.
Yeah.
But
we
it's
want to eat the prime
We want to eat
cuts.
the prime cut. I reckon that's another thing.
Yeah.
Because people are like too, what's it called? Like not fancy, but
They're
like,
worried about what people think.
Yeah, and it's like I like eating cutlets.
Mm.
I love cutlets. You know how people
Yeah.
they like sort of identify with that. Or like I love getting A9 Wagyu,
Oh, yeah.
and it's like
Which
a,
is like
a bit
the
of a flex.
unhealthiest animal and the
Yeah.
unhealthiest meat that you can
I think
eat.
it's a bit of a flex.
Yeah.
Could be a little bit.
I think you're right.
bit.
For some people, it's a status thing,
For some
right?
people, but I mean, maybe that's where it started. Because you said, maybe when you were young, you're like, oh, we're not poor anymore. Maybe if people thought, like, this is not like so much happening now, but maybe before, like, eating offal were the cheap cuts.
Yeah.
Or the 4/4 chops were the cheap cuts. I remember someone made a joke once, because I think I mentioned to someone that we used to have 4/4 chops and chicken wings. They were cheap, but they were tasty. Like,
Yeah, man.
And someone would be like, oh yeah, oh yeah, all the tight asses get all the 4-quarter chops and the
I
chicken
still,
wings or
I
whatever.
still buy
Same
4-quarter
with
chops,
me.
man.
I mean,
them.
not me, but that's
Yeah.
the same. My dad still gets them, you know, like
Yeah.
so. It's like I remember as a kid someone saying that, and you think, oh, maybe could have started from there. You don't know, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, you know, for me it was probably a maturity thing and an understanding as I started to care more about where food came from, and now I love eating offal, right? Like steak and kidney pie is like one of the greatest things.
Yeah, it's been good for your daughter as well when she grows up to be
Yeah.
normalising it, you know.
Well, it was funny talking to Cads, you know, we were saying about, because she's got 4 kids, and I
Yeah.
said, do all your kids eat game meat? She goes, it was the first thing they ate.
Yeah.
She goes, I was
Same
feeding them game meat as
That's
soon as
mad.
they were on solids,
Yeah,
you know, and
that's
now it's
same
just
with mine.
normal for them. And I'm going to make it my mission that my daughter eats everything.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when people are so picky and they only
No,
want
no.
to eat chicken or, you
And
know.
look, I think kids will become picky because
Yes.
I've sussed out other kids as well and their kids are very open. Their family, like they eat all different things and they still like picky. But I reckon even you eating it and normalising it, because you know, like our children look up to us.
They lead
So
by example,
At some
right?
point, yeah, lead by example. Lead by example. If you're like, oh yuck, kidney.
Oh, that's gross.
That's gross. They're
Yeah.
gonna be like, oh, Dad thinks it's gross. I was 100% not gonna eat it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
definitely.
you got to normalise it, and then they'll come around. Even if they're a bit picky, I reckon they'll come around again. But
Well, it was funny because, you know, growing up, you know, my mum was a single mum. She had 3 kids. We didn't have money. And she used to cook what she could afford. And she had a rule with us, man. If it was put on the table, you ate it.
I was same with my family.
And, you know, I resisted. There were certain things. But things like Brussels sprouts, right, which are like universally hated, I love them. And I swear it's because we ate them as kids and
Yeah.
maybe we didn't like them.
But
But,
you know
now
what-
I'll go
yeah.
out and willingly buy them. And I think it's that
You
exposure
come
thing,
around. I
right?
think you come
Yeah.
around. Yeah, because there was a lot of dishes as a kid I didn't really like black-eyed beans and spinach. I didn't really like that much.
Yeah.
But now I crave it.
Yeah.
I literally crave it.
Spinach is a funny one, hey.
Yeah.
I don't think any kids like spinach.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah.
But
It's just,
now I love it, man.
Same with me.
I'll go buy silver beet, or
Yeah.
you know, we were at our old place. We had a pretty big veggie garden.
That's
We used to
mad.
grow silver beet,
Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
the best, man.
it's good.
And so healthy, right?
Especially your own garden and that. Yeah, you know, I don't know. I think that you do come around. But it's good to expose your children to these things young, really
Absolutely.
as young as possible. Because some people say, "Oh, I'll wait till they get to a certain age." But why? We're eating game meat every day.
Yeah,
Like, it doesn't matter if they see a dead animal laying there because
it's real.
it's a real thing. It's laying there dead. We gut it, whatever. We skin it. Like, Naya's been on a few hunts now. Like, and she's seen it all. And
Yeah.
she's like she doesn't really. She obviously doesn't understand. I haven't explained to her what's happening. But she'll like, if I walk past my fridge or like an animal hanging, she'll be like
Oh,
pointing at it. You know.
so she's aware.
She's aware.
And this is what we're talking about before, right? Like the subconscious.
The
They're
subconscious is
absorbing
strong,
it.
man.
They're absorbing
Yeah.
it, and then you've normalized it.
I've normalised. She hasn't eaten anything but game. Well, there's nothing else to eat.
Yeah, that's
At
what
home,
you have.
That's what we eat. That's what we're eating.
That's
Not nothing else
amazing.
to eat. Like it's like we're
But
starving.
it's a
or something.
choice.
Yeah, that's what's there. You know, we feed like the fish. So we get a few of the home kills and that, but it's like a normal thing. It's as simple as just having a conversation with your children.
Yes.
You don't have to go and hunt. You just be like, hey guys, this is a lamb. This lamb was running around in the paddock. Make sure you eat the whole lamb because it's, you know, it was alive and
Respect it.
Respect it, and it's going to give us nutrients. We shouldn't be like, oh, don't call it lamb, call it.
Yeah.
You know how some people call everything chicken or
Yeah.
to make it thing, but I think that you can just have a conversation.
It's like the marketing names for things.
is,
It's
yeah,
like
it
like
is.
veal.
Yeah.
No, it's a young.
It's a young cow.
Young cow. Like let's call
Like a
it what it
baby
is,
cow.
right?
Yeah.
You know that cute little baby steer over there? Yeah, that's what the veal is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think you know, I love farms and I love the outdoors and I've got a lot of mates that are in farming, and I think for me the mission with my daughter is to make sure that she sees that. She sees that side of it, and whether she likes it or not, she's going to see it because she's going to be with me.
Well,
And
that's the thing.
I spend my time in those environments by choice, but it is so important. So one of the other things that we kind of touched on briefly was about you aging meat.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit more to it than that. So you actually run game courses.
Yeah, we do actually.
Teaching people how to utilise meat. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what
I'll
you
tell
do
you
there?
a bit about that. Well, the idea came was when I met one of my mates, Grant, and we hunted on his father's property and his property when I was young. That was when I first went hunting.
Yeah, right.
When I was young, and Grant's a bit older than me. Not heaps older, but I don't know how much older, but maybe 10 years or something.
Yep.
We ended up fast forward. We ended up becoming mates. And then I was hunting before then. I thought I knew how to hunt or whatever. Like we used to just shoot goats. And goats were easier to shoot. You know, you don't have to like be as like sort of stealthy and stuff like that, like deer. But then, yeah, Grant sort of was like my first sort of mentor into hunting deer. And then he showed me a bit of butchering, like breaking down the back legs. And then it was like, for me, it was like a light bulb moment. And I was like, I can make schnitzels and steaks. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know. We used to have game meat in the freezer and be like, I didn't know you could. And there'd be a whole leg sitting there. Maybe we'll make a roast or put in the slow cooker. But I never knew I could make a schnitzel,
Yeah.
you know, or a steak or jerky or all these things. And then, so that's what I said. Oh, you know what? I want to educate. I want to go like fast forward a few more years after that. Whatever. I'm like, I want to start maybe start a course to teach hunters new hunters and the hunters that have been hunting for a long time how to get the best yield out of the animal. You know?
Yes.
So then I hit up Grant, and then Grant's keen to get on board, and we did 13 courses a few years ago with Grant, and then we did the other ones this year. We did 3 in the bay this year.
Yeah.
But next year I think we're going to do more. Yeah.
So what's the
involved?
process?
I'll tell you what's involved. Yeah. So we go through, like, we talk about shot placement, gutting, skinning, aging, and then we do we try and mimic gutting, but we can't because the animal's already gutted.
Of course.
And then we go through the different cuts, and I'm cooking, and then Grant's butchering.
Amazing.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
So you'll go and shoot a deer prior to the course?
Either me or a friend or...
Yep.
Yeah.
So you go from, obviously not the gutting, because you got to get the guts out of the animal as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so I'll gut the animal there or whatever,
Yep.
yeah, where I shoot the deer.
But then it's the full process.
Full process, start to finish. Yeah, we talk about I like to keep the organs, so then I'll put the organs back into the deer and show
Yep.
where the organs are so people know where they're shooting. And,
Yep.
it's pretty much like some people come on the course and they want to learn skinning, so everyone's got a different reason. Some people are good cooks, so they don't want to. They're more interested in the skinning and gutting, you know, and the butchering. So it just depends on the person. Yeah.
Barry's
Yeah. Those are my
deeply
dogs.
invested in what's on your foot.
Yeah, these are my hunting shoes, so who knows what's on
Oh,
there.
you can smell it.
Yeah. So it just depends. Say, then we'll go through nose to tail.
Yeah, right.
So then people will see the neck and they're like, oh, because generally the neck's a tough cut, you know. But then we'll make like a stew or something, and then they'll be like, oh, it's so tender, you know.
Yeah,
so I wanted my aim was to change people's perspective on the whole animal, knowing that you can use the ribs. And it was like, because you see a lot of deer left on the ground, like not left on the ground whole, but like say they take the back legs and the back straps and they'll leave the shoulders, for example.
Yes.
Or the shanks or the neck. But
Very common, right?
Very common, yeah, because there's so many and everyone gets like so much. Like there's a lot of deer in Australia, so people like this. People that like it loses. People think probably like, why? Like I've got so many to shoot. I'll just take the legs or whatever.
That's what you were talking about, right?
Yeah,
Maybe a little bit of that lack of respect.
Lack of respect, like lack of respect, and then there's just an abundance of them, you know. But doesn't mean there's an abundance. There should be, because the thing is, at the end of the day, a shoulder. That's like 3 dinners.
It's beautiful meat.
Tasty,
and it's you've still taken the life of another animal.
Exactly. So through education, I want people to understand. Like I want people to, like, give the animal the respect it deserves. But if people don't understand how to take off a back leg or a shoulder or cut it up, they might have the venison sitting in the freezer. They're like, what am I going to do with it? But then if they know how to make a schnitzel, they're not going to look at a leg the same.
Yeah.
And that's what used to happen to us, you know, because I used to sit there, get frostbite. Sometimes we'd eat it. This was going back probably like 10 years. And we did, because I didn't know. And then we'd just be like, oh, maybe we'll put it in the slow cooker. And we just sort of not, because we didn't know how to.
You're not getting the best out of it.
You're not getting the best out of it, yeah. If you know how to make jerky and biltong and schnitzels and steaks, you won't be leaving that leg in the freezer. That'll be processed like that day. You know?
Absolutely.
So that was the point of the course.
So you're focusing primarily on venison or exclusively on venison?
No. Sometimes we'll have a rabbit as well.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I do want to start doing different game animals.
Yep.
It's just a bit being organised.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I would love to do like a goat, and wild pig would be a good one because a lot of people ask you a lot of questions with it.
A lot of stigma around
wild pig, yeah. And it's fair because there are diseases on there and everyone has to do their research and make the decision for themselves if they want to process it based on the area and that. But the main thing was skinning, butchering, cooking, just to create more awareness and education around it.
And they're pretty popular courses, right?
Yeah, they're keen. Yeah, a lot of people are keen. Like this year we didn't do that many because I was overseas.
Yep.
But next year I'm thinking to start opening them up soon for next year.
Yeah.
So I know.
Well, I'll absolutely come along,
you have
man.
to come, that'd be sick,
it looks fascinating, and
it's fun. It's good.
That was one of those things that, you know, I've seen some of the videos you put up, and you know, you're there preparing organ meat for people
that's cool.
Maybe haven't eaten it before.
Yeah. A lot of people like have never tried the organ meat, and it's cool.
And the response, I'm sure, is
look, it varies. Some people's palate, the liver is too strong,
can't handle it,
but then like some people are like far out, like they'll go for seconds for the brain, or this liver's mad, and then. Yeah, everyone's just understanding the flavour profile of what a heart tastes like, liver, kidneys. It's cool, yeah.
Hey, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Tongue. Can you eat venison tongue
You
or
can,
not?
yeah, you can. I haven't processed it that many, maybe 2 or 3,
Yeah.
but you can eat it, yeah. You just
'Cause
treat
I
it like
mean,
any other tongue.
I love ox tongue,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You just gotta like cut the jaw off, or you can pull the tongue from underneath.
Yeah, okay.
Underneath its jaw.
Yeah, I just wondered.
And
Like,
you
I
just,
think
you just gotta clean it and then treat it like
I think like a big sandbar, it'd have a big
for
tongue,
sure,
right?
yeah. Just look up, like, to be honest, I haven't done that many, but I would just, before you process it, just look up like, you know, how to clean a tongue.
Yeah.
And then it'll look exactly like, it's the same thing as ox tongue. It's got the same like chewiness. and
Yeah,
everything.
you gotta scrub it a bit.
Scrub it a bit.
Soak it in milk or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you gotta skin it. I don't know if
Yeah.
you gotta clean it and then take the outside skin off. But you
Yeah.
can eat tongue, yeah.
Yeah, I've
yeah.
never, something I've never seen in terms of people eating deer tongue.
I gotta do it. I gotta try it out more often. Like sometimes I just forget, or I'll keep sometimes because I age the animal and the tongue's in there. I don't know. Like maybe I rather cut it off straight away than put it in the freezer.
Needs to be treated differently. Yeah.
Yeah, like the liver and the kidneys and the heart, I'll take out and put in the fridge.
Yeah, you
like,
eat that fresh.
Yeah, or like I'll either freeze them, or I don't just leave them inside the cavity of the animal while it's hanging in the fridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's so.
Because they can degrade at
Well,
different paces.
You know what happens? Like the liver, becomes sometimes a bit mushy quicker.
Yep.
And generally they're not super dry. So when you got moisture in the cavity and it's aging, could be aging for sometimes 2 weeks, that moisture creates bacteria.
Yeah, it can spoil the meat, right?
It can spoil the meat, not the whole animal, but where it is. You get a smell to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this is what's so fascinating is the science behind what you do. But
yeah, you don't think about it like that, but
it's scientific, but it's instinctive.
It is, yes, you're right, yeah, because I'm not really good with the science part of it, but I like just do it because I know, like I do things because I know because I can taste the difference or feel the difference or whatever I do, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a science. I think it's the proteins are breaking down.
Yes.
While it's hanging, yeah, as opposed to like if you don't let an animal go through to rigor mortis, it's like soft.
Yes.
And then it's like that like. If something is like moving like this, it's like it pulls.
Yes.
As opposed to like it sort of.
It's the way that the muscle fibers and the enzymes work,
correct.
right?
They break down the proteins in there, and it sort of hardens. And then when you're cutting it, you can actually see the steak is like soft and solidified a little bit. If that makes sense. Like
it makes perfect sense, and this is something that I've put a lot of time and effort into with fish, right?
Hey, same. Do you age your fish?
I age my fish.
Yeah.
And there's a fantastic book by Josh Nyland
he's
called
the
The Whole
best.
Fish Cookbook.
Yeah.
And like that guy is a G, right?
Yeah,
He has taken fish preparation and utilization to the next level,
and
right?
what's he promoting? All the taboo.
Yeah.
True.
Amazing.
Guts, all different.
Using the fish more and like throats and all this sort of
he's
stuff.
making it normal.
Man, amazing.
Mad,
He's
yeah.
a fascinating dude,
Yeah,
right?
he
And
is,
he's
yeah.
been
Smart guy.
very successful. But that Whole Fish Cookbook, man, that changed my whole perspective on the way I treat fish. But
How long have you been? When did you start aging fish?
a few years ago now.
Yeah, that's mad.
And it's something that there's this perception that like the fresher the fish, the better, right? Oh, this was caught an hour ago, and we're gonna eat it on the boat. Now I've done that.
Same with me.
I've had raw flathead on the boat, right?
Yeah.
And I'll pretty much eat most fish raw. I haven't eaten tailor raw. I don't know if you can.
No, raw's good. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, tailor's
But
good.
we were talking about it before, using species that people look down upon,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I
Aussie
love
salmon.
it. I love
Same
eating
with me.
tailor. I love eating Aussie salmon.
Yeah.
I eat wrasse and I eat all these things
same
that
with
people
me.
don't like to eat.
Yeah, that's mad.
But I remember eating a piece of raw flathead on the boat one day, and it was really soft and like mushy. I've then aged flathead and eaten it raw, and after a couple of days, once that it's gone through the process of rigor mortis, if it's kept in the fridge and dry, the flavour that comes out and the texture
Better.
improves so much.
And you can get them crispy.
Yeah.
If you fry them, they get these are crispy layers. It's not like wet.
Yes, you can dry the skin out.
I'll wipe everything. You do wipe your fish.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is something that I am a massive advocate for, right? So every single fish that I catch that I'm going to kill and eat, I bleed it instantly. Like as soon as I land it, I bleed it, I gill it, and I gut it within seconds. And in the drummer and Ludric community, and I'm probably going to upset some of the old school guys, keeping fish alive in a keeper net, I think is crazy. Because we were talking before about the stress, the cortisol, the lactic acid build-up, right? That fish is stressed.
Yeah.
I would rather kill the fish instantly, bleed it, gut it, get them out,
Spearfishing, you
get
have
the
to-
gills out, right?
Yeah.
But then I will, generally speaking, if I'm going to fillet the animal, I'll leave the scales on it, right? But if I'm going to eat it whole, I'll scale it, and then I'll put it in the fridge, wipe it down with paper towel, leave it in the fridge, covered.
Paper towel's your best friend.
Paper towel, man.
Yeah.
It's got to be dry, right?
It's got to be dry, yeah.
Even I'll pull out a drummer and wipe it down maybe twice. That fish, when you eat it, is so different, man. The texture is amazing.
So meat is exactly the same.
Yes.
So you age the fish before you age for your first meat.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was opposite.
You didn't.
So I was aging meat for ages, and then one of my mates, Aiden, and then Josh Poland, this other guy on Instagram, they both use the fish butchery book. Is that what it's called? Fish butchery.
I think it's the whole fish.
The whole fish cookbook. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then since I moved down here, Aiden's like, bro, you got to age your fish. I'm like, I've been seeing a bit of hype online. I'm like, I'll try it out. You know.
Yeah.
Man.
It changes
everything.
Changes
everything. You hang fish in your fridge, and you can just eat as you go for starters. Less plastic.
Yes.
So you're not like
wrapping it.
You're not wrapping it, putting it in the freezer, and then when you put it in the freezer, it becomes like after a while, you can't eat them in the freezer unless you wipe them down proper and you vac seal them, and the vac seal is perfect.
Perfect, which is hard.
Because of the.
Mate, I'm on about my 5th vacuum sealer. I keep spending more money trying to get a better one, and none of them are perfect.
I think we need the commercial ones. I mean, I'm just saying, what bags do you use? But
I just use the rolls and I make my own bags.
Same with me, but where do you get your rolls from?
Oh, like eBay, man.
Yeah.
But I think there's definitely an art to it. Putting paper towel, like a roll of paper towel in between the protein and the seal can help, because as it draws the liquid, it goes into that piece of paper towel. I'm
struggling as well with it too. Some days it's good, some days it doesn't.
It just depends, right? But yeah, I think the next one for me will be a commercial vac sealer.
I got a mate that's got one in Victoria, and he said you never go back.
And I think that's a really important point for anyone out there that is into their, you know, be it hunting or game meat or fishing. If you're going to freeze something, oxygen is your enemy, right?
100%, exactly.
Freezer burn will destroy any protein that you put in.
Look, you can get away with a little bit with meat if it's like, say, 2 months or something. You can just cut it out.
Yes.
You can cut it off and it's all right. Like I wouldn't throw a whole leg if there's a bit of frostbite on top.
No.
I'll just cut that off.
Yes.
But fish,
man,
there's not as much like you don't have as much threshold.
Yeah.
But then again, my dad will eat like 6-month-old whiting in the freezer.
Really?
And he said it was good. But different fish freeze differently as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
I wouldn't freeze Taylor.
No.
Personally.
Or salmon.
No.
Or Taylor salmon. Any of those fish.
But drummer, man.
Fish. Drummer you can.
Drummer freezes brilliantly. Yeah. But again, I'll treat it the way I described, and then I'll vacuum seal it. And if the vacuum seal is not perfect,
do it again.
I'll do it again, or I'll just put it in the fridge and I'll eat it that week.
100%.
But we've done some tests, because, you know, sometimes the drummer are there and sometimes they're not. Well, they're always there, but sometimes they're not biting. Now you spear them, so you've got an advantage because you're going and hunting them.
But I fished a lot with line as well, but yeah.
And I said to my wife, you know, if I can go get 6 drummer, I'll take them.
Yeah.
And we need to freeze them. So we did some tests.
Was your wife saying you shouldn't get 6?
No, she was saying, I want more fish.
Okay.
And I don't want to kill them all if I'm not going to use them like in that week. So I said, because generally speaking, I try not to freeze fish, right? I like to eat it
fresh,
within a week.
especially if you live near the coast.
Yeah, and I'm lucky that the beach is 500 metres away.
Yeah.
You know, I've got headlands in my suburb.
Mad.
But we did some tests, and man, if you treat drummer properly and you freeze it properly, we've eaten it after 3-4 months. And it's
sweet.
Beautiful. It tastes the same as a fresh fish.
I reckon you could do. I reckon kingfish will be alright as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you've same thing what you said, but it's very important that.
Yeah.
It's And when I first started aging fish, I couldn't believe it.
Oh.
I could not believe it. And you know what it is? Say for example, if there's 6 drummer to catch, you catch 6 drummer.
Yes.
You don't stop, because I used to stop. I'd be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, because I
was the same. I'd get 2 fish and that was it.
That was it.
Yeah.
But then you can fish for longer. That means you, like, I love fishing, but then sometimes you're busy you don't have to fish for a week and a half. I used to go to my fridge, oh babe, we're gonna have Aussie salmon, and I used to hang those salmon sometimes 6 days.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, brine them, smoke them, and then, or another thing, sometimes you're busy, right?
Yes.
So what do? Instead of coming home and having to process everything, just put them in the fridge and walk away.
Yep.
Tomorrow you go there, wipe them down a bit, and then having a fridge to age is a big thing.
It is, and you've gone next level.
Yeah, but you know what? I was lucky. I just got that. I just got that off the side of the road.
Yeah, so you've got like a commercial.
I got a commercial 3-door fridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just driving past the cafe once and they were selling it.
So just to, I guess we could probably end on this note, but just to explain a little bit about the dry aging setup that you've got. So you've got like big glass fronted commercial fridge.
Yeah.
But you're not running it at fridge temperatures, right?
No, I am. Yeah. It's like 3.
So it's quite cold.
Between 1 to 4 degrees.
Okay.
But like, you don't need that. You can just do it in a conventional, normal fridge.
Yep.
I would just get a whole fridge with just 1 door, And then like for anyone that wants to age their fish or meat, and then you just like, you know, gut the fridge.
Yep.
And just put like rods in there.
Yeah, and hook it.
Same shit.
Yeah, it's amazing. And
Yeah.
I'm so happy that this is starting to become a conversation.
Yeah.
I was in a pub in Western Sydney the other day, just near my work.
Yeah.
And they've got the big, you know, like they have the dry aging beef.
Yeah.
And they have it on display.
Yeah.
And they had 2 saltwater barramundi
Oh, how good.
hanging on the hooks in the dry ager. And I
That's
went,
mad.
Josh Nyland, you're probably responsible for
Yeah.
that, because he was the one that was a big advocate for aging fish that really like brought it into the mainstream.
He did, yeah, he
and
did.
started
He
to get
normalised
people
it.
thinking about it.
Yeah.
And man, seeing that made me so happy.
Yeah,
because
that's
once
mad.
you eat that fish, you'll understand that it's like nothing
100%. Because you know what you said as well, like I was fishing from really young, right? And same thing, like that fresh is best, but that's like, look how much fresh fish, they're best. And we put them in, where would we put them? In a tray. But what happens in the tray? That slime.
All the moisture, yeah.
And then if you leave that for 3 days in the fridge, it smells like putrid.
Yeah.
Stinks.
Smells like the fish market, which smells horrible.
Exactly. But like you hang it and it's like dry and it's like upside down. There's not touching. That thing drips. You put a tray underneath.
And a few days later, you pull that out and it smells like the ocean.
Smells like the ocean. And you don't think that because you think, fish that's old stinks. Yeah, if it's like meat. If you put meat in a bowl,
it stinks.
It stinks. In 3 or 4 days, it'll stink. But if you hang it, because it's just, at the end of the day, it's just moisture, man.
Yeah.
You get that moisture out, paper towel and that, you're sweet. Yeah.
Man, I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Same. That was great.
Andrew.
I enjoyed that.
It's been really good, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
I cannot wait to come and do one of your game harvesting
Yeah,
courses.
you got it next year.
If anyone wants to find you,
Go on the Bold Chef AU.
Yep.
On Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I'll drop some links anyway in the description
Legend.
on the video. And yeah, man,
amazing.
I can't
Thanks
wait
for that.
to talk to you again.
Awesome. Thank
Cheers,
you.
bro.
Legend. Thank you.
And we'll catch all you guys next time on the outer side.